first set of equipment, it was kind of like just a computer speakers, and I used this program that I really used until a couple years ago called Sony Acid. Or actually back then it was Sonic Foundry Acid. That was the very first the very first thing I made a beat on was something called Hip Hop EJ. And it was like this really horrible program where you just like, they had pre-made loops, and it's like making a beat on a PlayStation game, you know, like that's what the equivalent of it was. Then I went from that to Acid. Acid, you started being able to put in your own sounds and do your own stuff with it. And, you know, I did a lot of stuff on Acid. I mean, I did a lot of stuff. I did Heartache. I think we did some of Who Dat with Acid. So I've used it up to, you know what I mean? Just recently, the last 3 or 4 years, I started using this program called Reaper. And the only reason why I use it is because it's a Mac, you know, it's a similar program to Acid on the Mac side, so that's why I use it. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't known as a producer until, I mean, just by my friends and my circle, you know what I mean, until the Rough Rider stuff started really happening. Even when I first started, you know, working with Rough Riders, it was as an artist. I kind of made the decision to go towards a production because my beats started getting noticed and, you know, placed. So I was like, all right, well, I was so young that I was just going to go with whatever was working. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's working. Okay, cool. I didn't even have any intentions to be any of this stuff. It was kind of just stuff that I would just play with. And, you know, I guess I happened to be good at it according to other people. So I was like, okay, if you guys think I'm good at this. And that's a funny thing, because when success happens to you at a young age like that, I notice this with a lot of people, and it happened to me, is it's almost like you're not prepared and you don't know why. You're like, why is this good? Like, I don't even know yet. I'm just playing around. So am I even good? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know yet. I was like, I'm just doing stuff. So if you guys say it's cool, it's good, then okay. But didn't have the experience yet to really know myself. Like, this is why this is good. This is why this is bad. And that just comes from experience and time, you know, and putting in the hours and all that. Yeah. During the Rough Rider days, the whole thing, it was all about the room that you were in. You know what I mean? And in the studio, people would come and they would play beats. It was like you know, it was like training camp. You know what I mean? You'd come in and everybody would play their beats for the artists or for the A&Rs or whoever it was. And whoever got the room to go was crazy. You felt like you won that day. So my goal was always just to have the hardest hitting drums, the biggest sounding, most cinematic, explosive change-ups and it was like a beat battle. So that's how all my beats used to be. And I would win. I'd win those room meetings, but then no artist would rap to them because it was like, what am I supposed to do to this? You know what I mean? It just sounds like it belongs. People always tell me your beats sound like they belong in movies, you know, like, because it's like score stuff. It has so much emotion in them that there was nothing to add. And Cole used to tell me that too. When he was young, I would send him beats and he wouldn't get on them. I was like, why don't you get on this? You know, blah, blah, blah. Like, because he wasn't even, you know, established at the time. So I'm like, just get on this, man. But he's like, yo, I can't even write to this. I never used to understand it. And I didn't really understand it until maybe 4 years ago when I started really writing my own songs to my own production. And then I started really going in and making songs and doing the whole process of producing. And I was like, okay, now that I'm really taking that seat and taking it seriously and making songs from the ground up, I started to understand, okay, you need a space. It's not even a sonic space. There is a sonic space that you need, but you need an emotional space to give something. Because if the music is giving everything, it's like you have nothing left. There's nothing left to say. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to feel like, okay, when you have a beat, there's a missing element that you can fill in as an artist. And I think that was difficult for me to understand until I became the artist and started, you know, actually writing the songs from scratch. And, you know, I said this before, there was no way I could have done some of the production work I did on Born Center if I hadn't done my mixtape previously, because that allowed me to understand the real process of production as opposed to beat making, you know. Well, Temptations got served off that. That's really what it was. Yeah, no, Fireman for Dragon, that was my first placement in like 2003. I don't know when it was, but it was on the Cradle to the Grave soundtrack. And yeah, that was a quick lesson for me in music business in terms of I sampled Papa Was a Rolling Stone by the Temptations, which is a humongous record. And not only did they take 100% of the songs publishing, like from both of me and Drag, like they just took the entire thing. But I think I forget the number, but it was something outrageous, like an upfront, you know, amount of money that they made. not for me, for the label to clear it. You know what I mean? So it's just it was a lesson real quick in, okay, you're not making any money if you're gonna sample these huge records. But it didn't discourage me from sampling big records because I don't believe that, you know, I don't know. I just don't. I feel like creativity shouldn't be influenced by business. So it's like if you hear a great, you know, huge sample that you think you can make something incredible out of, you should just do it and then let it fall where it may afterwards. You know. So when I met Timbaland, I was very young. It was at a I was at a DMX session, and one of his artists, his name was Sincere, had overheard me just talking to a friend of mine outside about Timbaland and just saying, you know, praising him and just being like, yeah, he's my favorite because he does this and da da da. And he just overheard me, so he started talking to me and kind of slowly revealed that he was one of his artists. And I was just like, what? So I started asking him all kinds of questions. Like, when he gives you a beat, what does he do? Does he do this? Da da da. You know, I've heard rumors he does this, da da da. He scats over him and he does flows and this and that. And he was like, after like the fifth question, he was like, you know what? You want to just come ask him yourself? I was just like hell yeah, you know, like when he told me that, it's almost like when you get in those moments, you're kind of just like scrambling, like, okay, how can I make the most of the situation? Like, I'm like, oh, I need a beat CD. I'm like, damn, I only have this one beat CD that kind of sucks, and it's like not really what I want to play for Tim, but whatever, I'm like the most of it. So he took me to Timbaland's studio, and this was at the time when Timbaland was working on Bubba Sparks' second album, Deliverance, and that album really influenced me production-wise a lot because the production on that album is so underrated. I mean, people don't even talk about it, but some of Timbaland's best beats are on that album. There's at least like 5 or 6 records on that album, production-wise, that are just outstanding. And so I'm sitting in there. He brings me in, introduces me, tells me I'm working with Rough Riders, whatever. So he gives my beats a listen, and I was bugging out. And he played them in headphones, and he's sitting there and he's like bobbing to it, and he like puts the headphones like woo like that, looks at me, you know. He starts like, and you know Timberland's very animated, so as soon as he started really feeling it, he starts like scatting, which is what I had heard he does, like he doing flows like kind of like just like making up flows with no words, kind of just like improvising to my beats. And I had a cell phone clip of it that I recorded. This is back when like I had a little Verizon flip phone that had this little, I don't know what it was, but it had this little video that was so horrible, but I had a video of it and I lost it. I would kill for that video right now. But anyway, so he's doing that, and that blew my mind. And then he ended up just the whole night playing me the whole Bubba Sparks album. This is before it came out, and there was all kind of like elaborate production on it. I remember that wasn't even, that didn't make the album. He must have had to trim it down and make it like, you know, because he had like a 7-minute long song, I remember, that was just like epic. And yeah, that was a crazy night because he was really into my stuff, but I was so starstruck and so nervous. I was probably 19 or 20, and I was so nervous that I didn't get any contact information on him. And he was saying, he was like, you know, I'll work with you, let's work, this and that. And I'm like, okay. He's like, bring me some more stuff. And I left, didn't get his number, and I kept trying to contact the artist who brought me to him, and it's kind of like he just wasn't, I guess he probably felt like, what am I getting out of this, you know? So he didn't reconnect again, and it never happened. But that was another lesson in just like, you know, you got to seize the opportunity when it's there, and like, you know, not be afraid or whatever. No, but at the same time, everything happens for a reason. I mean, I I gained so much from the experience, regardless of if I would have gone and worked with him more at that time. Just that one night, and just what it did for my confidence, knowing that someone that I looked up to actually respected what I was doing. That did enough. So the way I met Cole was, since I was doing stuff with Rough Riders at the time, he just sent me he discovered me through some site, and he reached out to me and sent me a song that he had called The Storm, which is the first song that he had ever recorded. And I was just like, okay, this kid's amazing. Like, as soon as he sent me that song, I was like, all right. He's 15 years old at the time. I think he knew that I was doing stuff with Rough Riders at the time. It was probably like right when I started working with them. So just from posting, I don't know, we posted on message boards or whatever we would do, as kids on the internet, rap fans and shit. So he yeah, exactly. So he hit me up through there, and we just maintained a relationship, sending songs back and forth, since we were young. And then when he came to St. John's, we started, you know, hanging out more and getting up and working in person. And you know, then once he started really getting serious with the mixtapes and everything, we just started working even more. We had a little rap group that we had started back then too. We did a lot of stuff together. But then when he started doing the warm up, we really started like we recorded a lot of that at my crib. So like that was when we started really getting. Cole was very self-sufficient. You know what I mean? Like Cole's not somebody who would go to a producer and be like, yo, like I need you to do this for me. Like it's more like Cole does mostly his own beats. You know what I mean? So when we would come together, it was more like, you know, throwing ideas onto the board and seeing what sticks. And if something worked, we would just collaborate and work together. We had you know, we mostly do co-production because he knows what he wants all the time. So it's like if I have a beat, he might have an idea for it to change it or to do this to it, or I might, you know, if he starts something, I might come in and have an idea. So it's a very collaborative process when me and Cole work. It's not like he's coming to me like, oh, I need a song, like, can you help me? It's not like kind of a relationship because he's a producer too, you know what I mean? So his vision is very streamlined, but that helps me as a producer too, because it's great to work with an artist who knows what they want, because then it's easy to get to the end, the goal, you know what I mean? Because if they don't know what they're doing, sometimes it's hard because you might be steering them in a direction they don't really want to go in, whatever the case may be. But with him, he knows where he's going. So you're either helping or the idea is not helping, and you know, so it's easy to work with someone like that. That's all Cole. I mean, he like I said, he just has all he's in control of his stuff. Like when he came to the studio with that, again, the song was like done. Like Let Nas Down. The thing about Let Nas Down was I have a song with Boss, who's a Dreamville artist, for my upcoming mixtape that we had done, and I had sent it to Cole just so he could, you know, hear it, get his opinion on it. And he had it in his laptop, and he ended up sampling the song that we made and slowing it down and adding different drums and transforming it into the Let Nas Down beat. So he hit me and he was just like, yo, I got this song. I sampled your song or whatever. And I was just like, well, I was confused. You know, I was like, how did you sample that? Like, I don't understand. You sampled that? Like, it didn't make sense. But then I went into the studio and he played the beat for me. And I was just like, oh, this is something totally different than our song. The vibe is completely different. Like when you hear our song, it's like some fun, up-tempo thing. And his is like dark and like, you know, thought-provoking. And I was just like, okay, this is totally, you know, not what I was expecting. And he's just like, I got this song for. I'm like, I asked this for him, like, what's the song about? He's like, you just gotta hear it. You know, I'm like, okay. So I'm in there and he just goes in and does the whole song, you know, like live, like one take. Like, I don't know if it was one take, but that was one of those instances where it was fast. Like he just had it all written, came to the studio with the whole song done, just recorded it, and we're in there in the control room just listening, like hearing the story and the whole. It's not like he comes in and gives you like a you know, a preview or a warning or nothing. It's just like I'm hearing it like a fan. So I'm just sitting there like, oh wow, this is amazing, you know. So yeah, that's pretty it's just a moment. It's like a fucking, you know, it's just a second. You know what I mean? Like it just happens for a minute with the amount of work that we put into like